Hello, it's Jimmy here already. Got here to look at a Subaru Outback. Okay, so this one's got a flashing DPF symbol down there, as well as the engine light, skid control and parking fault. Now he said when the fault first came on that was a solid light, but now it's blinking. And bit of a very strange story with this one. The guy lives in Spain and he's had it at a garage there a couple of times and with no resolution. First time they said they've fixed the problem with a regen and an oil change. He said he drove 50 yards down the road and the light came back on, so we brought it back and they had it for a further 6 weeks and basically gave up. So the guy is taking the car back. Now this guy lives in Spain, like I said. He's just paid, I think, £1,500 to get it recovered back here to England, so we can have a look at it. And that's what we're going to do. Let's get it plugged in. I'm going to use the launch Eurotab 3. We'll do smart detection, so it's going to go through all of the different systems. Let's see what's going on here. We could see there the car was just idling a bit high. Now it's suddenly, I just heard it drop, come back down to where it should idle. Okay, so we can see there we're already getting loads of different electrical faults come up. Now he did say that the garage it went to did change the battery, so maybe because of that. But hopefully we can get this guy's issue sorted here, because he's just had it brought literally across Europe on a recovery truck to get this issue resolved. Okay, so while that's loading there, it's taking a little bit of time, a bit slow on this car, but we'll have a little bit of a chat while that's loading. One thing I will mention with all of these sort of Asian cars, Japanese, Subaru, Toyota, Honda, Kia, a few others, they all have a similar issue, which is oil dilution. Every one of these cars I see, they've always got an oil dilution issue. And I had a customer, one of these Subarus, come to me. He was less than 2 years old, and he said every 6 weeks he has to take it back to Subaru to do an oil change and a DPF regen. Subaru have put a new DPF in it and it doesn't fix the problem. He said he's had the injectors looked at, it's been back there. Of course, now the car is 2 years old. He said he's bringing it back every 6 weeks or every 1,500 to 2,000 miles for an oil service, which is a bit ridiculous. And Subaru said that there is no resolution to it. It's just how the car is. Okay, so what have we got? Battery malfunction, battery supply, sensor, ABS, ECM failure, power supply voltage failure. Yeah, so probably hasn't been reset after they've had the battery disconnected. Not defined. P1473 DPF inlet and outlet pressure deviation sensor high. Let's go in and have a look at live data. Okay, so we'll find DPF and let's tick all of those. Okay, we got regeneration not in progress, deviation between the inlet and outlet pressure, 1120 HPAs. Let's give it a rev. Okay, so that's not moving. May need a new DPF pressure sensor. Alright, if we look down here at the DPF pressure sensor, for some reason the plug's disconnected, so let's just try and get that connected back in here. Okay, that's plugged in. So these are your two pressure hoses here that go to the DPF, so that's why we can't get a reading on that. Okay, back in the car, let's turn the ignition back on, start it up. Well, that looks better. At least the sensor's working, so we don't need to go and buy one of those. Let's Give it a little bit of a rev up to 3000 RPM. So yeah, it doesn't look too bad at all really. Needs a little bit of a DPF clean. Right, we've still got all of the flashing lights down there. Now, why did the DPF get blocked? I think they may have already resolved that problem, because he said there was an oil dilution fault. They done an oil change, and there was also battery voltage issues and it wouldn't start, so they changed the battery. I think those two items would have probably been the main cause, because right now what we've got here are just a few electrical issues and a straightforward blockage of the DPF, apart from obviously the deviation codes here. That's because the DPF was disconnected. Now, I did just have a chat with a customer over here, and he said that there was an attempt made to remove the DPF, but the bolts wouldn't come off, so the garage gave up on that idea. Right, so obviously I'm just hearing bits of the stories as I'm looking through the car, so I'll fill you in as we go. Okay, so what I've done now is I've just cleared all of the fault codes, so they're all cleared, and we'll take the vehicle on a test drive. So the light's still flashing there. Let's start it up and see what happens if we still got all of the same. Okay, the skid lights have gone out, but we've still got the DPF flashing there. Okay, you can see there that the lights have come back on again after a couple hundred yards, same as like the customer said there. Okay, we're still having a look at live data, so no regen has tried to take place on it. The DPF pressure has actually increased a fair bit after the vehicle's warmed up. So we've got 50 HPAs at idle. So after clearing the codes and taking a little test drive, that's the codes that we have now. P1496, two of those. Okay, so I cleared those codes, took it for another little drive here, and the lights have all come back on. So it seems the engine management lights and DPF are all triggered at the same time as the skid and parking light comes on. So what we're going to do is we're going to try and clean the DPF down, see if we can get the pressure lowered, retest drive it, and go from there. Right, so I'm going to clean out the DPF using this gun here and DPF cleaner fluid from Launch UK. We'll get it put in here and we'll then get it inserted into the vehicle. Okay, so I'm going to get down here to the DPF pressure sensor. I'm going to open the left, moving the camera off there. So just going to grab the left clip here and remove that down, and then get the pliers around the hose, give it a little wiggle, just pull it straight down. Now I can connect up my DPF gun to that hose. Okay, so we've got the gun connected to the compressor at 130 psi. Now we can squeeze the trigger if we got it. Oh, we may have a break on this tube. Okay, we're getting that DPF fluid sprayed in there. Okay, so I've disconnected that. It's given a bit of a kickback. Did squirt out a little bit there. Okay, so I'm going to leave that DPF pressure hose disconnected, and I'll start the engine up, let that idle for 10-20 seconds. So once all the steam's evaporated from the hose, we can get it connected back to the pressure sensor. Okay, now the pressure sensor is all connected back up. We'll give it a few revs up and down. We'll hold the revs up at say around about 3000 RPM again. We'll get the DPF pressure up on a graph here. Keep an eye on it. want to see ideally is that coming down to around about 50 millibars. What's happened there? We've still got the revs at 3000. You can hear different changes of tone in the engine. So it looks like we're almost where we need to be. Sorry, I felt the revs drop there. Let's try and hold that. Give it a few spike revs up and down. I'm going to see a lot of smoke coming from the exhaust like that, which is the steam basically. Now we are down to 40 millibars of pressure, and we have 0 millibars of pressure at idle. Now if we rev this up a little bit, you can see this goes in 10 increments, so it doesn't read anything less than 10, 20, 30, 40. Okay, so now I'm going to go out of here. Alright, we can see that soot accumulation from live data has come down from 200 and odd percent down to 38. Yeah, you can see that's manually dropping there. If we hold the revs a little bit, you can see that comes down nice and fast. So that soot accumulation that's calculated according to the pressure within the DPF. So now if we just reset these codes, it should work. What we might have to do is tell it it's had a new DPF, but I'm pretty sure now that soot accumulation has come down, just a code reset should make this work properly. Okay, let's turn the engine off. Clear these fault codes. Now we need to wait 15 seconds. Okay, so that's the codes cleared. We'll go back. Looks like we still have a flashing light there. Let's switch the ignition off. Switch it back on. Is it still flashing? Yes. Start the engine up. Okay, let's see if a test drive will let the DPF do its relearn. If not, we can program in a new DPF and see what happens. Okay, so we took it for around about 5 miles journey. The light is still flashing there. Well, we've only got one light now. We haven't got the anti-skid or anything like that flashing anymore. Okay, so I'm going to go to special functions, DPF maintenance and DPF change. Just going to reset the ash. Okay, and that has now stopped that light from flashing. So the light was obviously flashing because of an ash build-up code. That was even though there was no more faults in the system here. Let's just go back in and confirm that again. Okay, so that was obviously locked out because of ash build-up. Like I said, there was no fault codes there for ash, and there was no ash in the live data. We had soot accumulation, but I couldn't find anything to do with ash. But it was obviously saved somewhere within the ECU of the car, and by resetting the DPF, that has solved that. So we'll just take it on another mile or so journey now, just to confirm everything's okay. You can see there that everything is working perfectly now on the car. Okay, so that all looks good. Everything is working up to scratch where I'd like to see it, and it just goes to show, like, a little bit of DPF knowledge can save people a lot of hassle. This guy has been 6 weeks waiting for this car to be done in a garage in Spain, and constantly messed around with. He's had 3 different occasions, or 2 he said, where they told him the car was fixed and he drive it 50 yards up the road and the lights all come back on. Obviously the 6 weeks wait was for them to try and remove the DPF and send it away, which they failed to do. I doubt he probably would have been able to solve the problem even after the DPF was changed, because if he didn't know what he was doing, he didn't even know how to reset the codes, probably would have just kept on happening. So yeah, a little bit of DPF knowledge there. Sorted this issue out by cleaning the pressure down using the tools that I've got there, resetting the DPF by telling it it's had a replacement to reset the ash, and all should be well. So that's it, Subaru Outback is all finished, and I'll see you on our next video.